I think one of the big problems with Bulletstorm initially was its image. Another testosterone-filled, foul-mouthed protagonist with Cliff Bleszinski's name attached to it.
Grayson. General Fuckhead.
Another shooter focusing on gore, brutality, and shooting things with as little exposition as possible. Whenever I saw a trailer for this game that was dialogue-focused, I would shrug and write it off as another shooter with little to no substance. But when I saw that Whip, Kick, Boom trailer a few years after launch, I was definitely intrigued. Maybe this game's style is just exclusively found in its gameplay. I happened to notice it sitting on the unplayed section of my shelves a couple weeks ago, remembered that banger of a trailer, and thought this may be good for some brainless fun. And boy was I right on the money. If you choose to ignore the story, which I would urge you to do, and hone in on the gameplay, you'll see what I mean. This game does wacky arcade shooting in the most fun way they could by having a unique system in place that really makes Bulletstorm's creative elements be fully utilized by the player. And with this system lies the topic of today's video. I'm Dreambot, and on this episode of Feature Framing, I'm talking about how Bulletstorm's scoring system forces you to play how it was meant to be played. Bulletstorm is an FPS with a heavy focus on killing dudes in creative ways, and they ensure you play as creatively as possible by having this scoring system. The scoring system has a large list broken up into different categories of creative ways to kill enemies through the crazy weapons in the game, the environment, or this tight-ass cyberpunk Indiana Jones whip. Points are rewarded for executing the kills on these lists, with higher points rewarded for comboing them together or managing to pull off the trickier kills. This works well for achievement-hungry completionist nerds like myself who would have an aneurysm over a grayed out bit of text. Scoring systems based around points have been used in a lot of different games, and they're a good way to get the player to try new things in order to achieve that fabled S rank. But couple that with a list of ways to achieve higher scores, and you're sure to get players figuring out how to check them off to get more points. But what if you're not like me and could just ignore the low scores and incomplete task lists? Platinum is probably my favorite developer, but all these scoring systems can do is rub in the fact that you're not being stylish enough by sticking you with low grades after beating levels. If that's something that doesn't bother you, what does Bulletstorm do to push you one step further into playing into its fun, stylish kills? Well, that's where the aforementioned points that you gain from completing these different kills come into play. See, the points here aren't just part of a score that continues to go up and up with each enemy you mangle into nasty bits. The points in Bulletstorm are actually spent on ammo and weapon upgrades. There are still ammo pickups on the ground, but they are few and far between, so low scores means low ammo and less powerful bare-bones weapons. This incentivizes all types of players to get down and dirty and go for those slide kicks followed by a shotgun blast into a wall of spikes. The game will actually discourage you from doing the same skill shots over and over again. In fact, the first time executing a new skill shot is worth a heck of a lot more than any subsequent executions of that same skill shot, because you're not going to get the same amount of points for being repetitive. But we encourage the player to be creative and kill with skill and get rewarded for that. This scoring system has made the gameplay into a win-win situation, or as we like to say at the old Dreambot household, a tubular sitch, because the game is being played how the developers designed it to be played, and that way happens to also be the most fun way to play. Huh, would you look at that? The scoring system positively reinforces the players to keep up the cool kills, as well as gives them a chart of slaughter akin to my mom's Monday night grocery list in terms of quantity. Now here's the part that I think gives this system a little extra stroke of brilliance, because the funny thing is, even if you do poorly and are therefore low on ammo for the next mission, it still funnels you into this playstyle. Less ammo means you have to find creative ways to get kills with the whip or the environment instead of relying on your COD skills. If you play well, you'll be doing creative kills, and if you play poorly, you'll be doing creative kills. This system reminds me a lot of how Doom's health system forces you to play aggressively. Finding ways to get players to play your game in the way you designed it, or the most fun way, is something I'd love to see done more. I feel like this system could easily be utilized in some of my other favorite games. Now for some games, discovering things on your own is a big part of the fun, but there are others with more complicated components that I could see this system being used to help less skilled players down the path to pulling off these cool stunts on their own, instead of watching them be performed by people with a lot more dedication than me. It could also be improved upon by maybe hiding some of the weapons behind these point unlocks, or removing the on-floor ammo altogether, as it did seem to become more frequent near the end of the game. There's nothing wrong with hiding unlocks or powers behind skill walls. Players should feel rewarded for doing well. It's better than locking this stuff behind paywalls. Thanks a lot for watching, everyone. See you all next week. Cheers.